Welcome to another edition of The Mindset Shift, powered by the Hopper Motor Group. So what is bullying? Well, bullying is defined as deliberately hurting others, either psychologically, physically, verbally, or socially, where the bully has the power or strength over the person experiencing the bullying. In sport, it can manifest itself in many ways and through many perpetrators. It could be a coach favouring some team members more than others, a parent berating their own child, someone else's child, or maybe even the referee, or a player berating the match official, or maybe even a parent intimidating the coach. Joining us today to discuss bullying is the CEO of Bully Zero, Andre Carvalho. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you, Mark.
Great to have you joining us. First up, if you could tell us a little bit about how Bully Zero began.
Sure. So Bully Zero started in 2012. It actually, sadly, came out of a tragic event. A young boy, 17-year-old Hallam Alkic, decided that through the extremely serious bullying that he was experiencing, that he could no longer cope with that event, and sadly committed suicide in 2009. So after that, his parents and a group of other families who sadly experienced the same tragic outcome as a result of bullying decided that just wasn't enough programs at a school level that really raised the impact of words, the impact of bullying on young people. So they decided to come together as a group of people who had a lot of obviously enthusiasm for the cause, had a lot of commitment to do something about it, and getting people together from the police, lots of different volunteers from different backgrounds, created the foundation. So in 2012, we had its first board meeting. The Prime Minister, Julia Gillard at the time, launched the organization, so we were really lucky to have a really high-profile launch. And in those 6 or 7 years, we've made a real concerted effort to do our number one task, which is to get ourselves in front of young people and to really send home the tragic consequences that words and other types of bullying can have on young people.
So what is the mission of Bully Zero?
So we've definitely evolved over the last 7 years. So certainly we were created to prevent bullying. And today we're still very much, that's a core part of who we are and what we do. We are a single issue organization. All we do and everything we do 24/7 is aimed at preventing bullying in Australia. We're now going to be evolving in terms of what that means. So our new strategy is centered around 3 areas. One is education. We certainly believe that bullying is a learned behavior. So if you can learn it, we certainly believe through education and prevention programs, we can try and have young people and adults unlearning some of those behaviors. So education is a big part of what we do and our mission. Support is another critical part. A lot of engagement that we get with our organization are from parents and workers as well, because we do cover any type of bullying, whether it's in school or a workplace. But a lot of the contact that we have is really frustrated and parents who just feel that they have nowhere to turn. They've attempted to deal with the school. They just feel that the school isn't doing enough to prevent the bullying that their child is experiencing, or an employer in the workplace who really doesn't know where to go. They don't want to contact their HR department for fear of any reprisals from anyone. They don't really want to contact an official body outside of the organization, again for fear of potential reprisal at work. So we deliver or are developing a new program that will allow individuals to contact us, whether by phone, by text message, by email, and physically coming to see us. That will pair them up with a legal advisor, an advisor who's an expert on the education system, on bullying. So we're really able to offer practical advice on how they can prevent bullying in their environment that they're in. And the third piece is around advocacy. There are a huge amount of legislations and policy that I think we can influence and needs to be influenced. I mean, one example is that up until 10 years ago, bullying was not a criminal offence. So through the campaigning of some of the people that were involved, we were actually able to not just ourselves, but lots of the different groups, were able to actually campaign the government and say that we need a specific law for bullying prevention. And that law is now in place. So criminal or bullying, serious bullying in Victoria, whether cyberbullying or bullying itself in sports or school, is now a crime in the state.
That is great news. Well done on that achievement. So if we could look at sport to start with, how rife is bullying in sport these days?
Look, one of the challenges that we have is that there is very little research that is in sports and bullying that tells us the prevalence of bullying. Whereas in schools and workplaces there are more studies. So in schools it's 1 in 4 young people will be impacted. So that's a huge amount. That's almost 900,000 young kids across Australia will be impacted by bullying. In the workplace, is around 1 in 9 employees will experience bullying, and that we know because of research and studies that have told us that. In sports, there is not one study that tells us the exact number, but we can look at, for example, America, where a study was done a few years back, which said 1 in 2 young people or sports people experience bullying in a sports environment. Look, if we also look outside the studies and that look to numbers, those who are involved in sport, either through their children or themselves, will know of situations, parents, coaches, teammates, where they felt that this isn't necessarily quite appropriate. So I myself am a parent and see it quite regularly when my child is playing basketball, whether it's a coach to the kids, whether it's the parents to the kids, whether it's the parents to the coaches and coaches to the umpire. There is a huge amount, I think, of undesirable actions that are happening at the moment.
Absolutely. So what do Bully Zero offer to sporting clubs to help them to deal with issues of bullying in their association?
So we certainly at the moment offer a series of workshops that we can present to sporting clubs, and it covers a number of areas, i.e. the what is it and what isn't. I think that's certainly one of the big areas I think people sometimes are confused about, particularly if it's one incident or one-off. Is it bullying? Well, it's not. We talk about the respectful behaviour towards each other. We talk about the upstander effect. There's a statistic that 80% of bullying cases is witnessed by people, whether people filming it or watching it or seeing it, but don't intervene. And I think that's one of the major aspects of what we try and do, is to encourage more people, rather than just being bystanders, to actually be upstanders, to witness a situation, but to actually do something about it. Whether it's to intervene and pull the young person away, whether it's to actually say something to the person who's doing the bullying. So we do a lot of time on trying to encourage and empower and build the confidence of people to step in if they witness such a situation. So that's what we do at the moment. Today also we can talk about, if there is time, about the new program that we're developing with Transition Sports, which takes that on to another level, which is a much more cultural change piece. So for us to go into a club or different types of sports, to really work with the club, the coaches, the parents, the children, to really try to change the culture of that club into a more respectful and zero tolerance club towards bullying. So rather than just going in for a day or two, we want to actually go in there and work with all elements of the club and really leave a long-term cultural change.
Well, the good news is Darren Hindle from Transition Sports will be joining us shortly to talk a little bit more about that program. So, Andre, cyberbullying is becoming a massive problem in our society these days, and I read on your website something like 84% of people who are bullied online are also bullied in person.
It certainly is a tragic number. It certainly manifests itself from the cyberbullying tends to be a reflection of what is happening to an episode offline. So, for example, the types of bullying that we deal with are cyberbullying, particularly, are people who know each other. So they go to the same school, or they work in the same workplace, or they know each other through sports or through community. And either something has happened in the offline world, i.e. a disagreement, or through whatever ways bullying usually manifests itself, it's then continued on to the online world, simply because it's in cruel terms a more effective way to get through to individuals, because it can be done at any point. Sometimes it can be anonymous, so it's a sad but a perfect environment almost for those who want to create havoc. So it certainly is the case that many people who are experienced bullying online will have it started off in a different environment offline.
And we certainly see in the world of sport, in particular AFL circles and higher level elite sports, that the keyboard warriors, as we like to call them, are wreaking havoc somewhat these days in terms of players and their mental health.
Yes. So that's certainly the other side of the cyberbullying space. Certainly a big side is the first I've just talked about. There is an element of people knowing each other, and it just continues online. But certainly that, which is becoming, I think, more common. This attitude of, I can go on the internet and say pretty much on the comments or Twitter, can say anything I want without really any repercussions. So I think that's more of a reflection, I think, how society has evolved using social media over the last few years. But I think the social media giants, in terms of Facebook and Twitter, have also got to be held accountable to the fact that this is happening on their platforms, and this is happening on a daily basis, and we still see very little action being taken to many of these cases. So that's certainly something that we deal with as well. But and that's probably whilst it's happening on a larger scale, that is that there are elements that can be taken to prevent some of those, particularly if the individual that is being attacked by those. But certainly it's not a nice experience to be going through.
So if a parent feels as though or becomes aware that their child may be cyberbullied, how would the Bully Zero Foundation look at helping them, and what support would you give them to help them help their child?
Sure. So I think the feedback that we give to children is to talk to someone about it first. There have been studies in the past where children sometimes, if they are experiencing bullying, don't necessarily approach their parents first. And that's sometimes because of fear of their devices being taken away, fear of that the parent is going to go into the school or the sports club to complain about what's going on. And look, it's quite right, it's the parent's job to be able to do that, but it can actually be counterproductive to the child as well. So I think what we certainly encourage is to have really open discussions with your children. There are signs that I think parents can spot if something isn't quite right. In a club environment, I think certainly signs that a child doesn't want to go to training or doesn't want to take part in a game is sometimes a sign. More practical, children who after training don't want to shower together with the team as well. Children when they feel removed and feel down, I think, and don't want to be engaging with the team activities. I think those are some of the signs I think parents can look out for. At home as well, similar to that, people who, kids, if they are choosing to lock themselves away in their rooms, not really wanting to take part in family activities, not wanting to go to school. So there are certain things that parents should be looking out for. And the way to really address it and tackle it is really sit down with your child and have an honest and open conversation to understand what the situation is. Not trying to go in there and fix it, but really listen to what's going on. And then the key really is there to try and find a solution that works for both the child and the parents. So talk to your child, what can we do together as a family to try and help you through this? Should we be talking to the club? Should we be talking to the school about the experience, and come to a conclusion together that you'll be taking appropriate steps to go forward.
And I suppose the big message for any kids listening out there is, to trust your parents, and they will do the right thing by you. But also by the other stretch, it's important that parents do listen to their child's concerns and take them, on face value, and not sort of dismiss them or overreaction or so on.
Absolutely, and I know that's a difficult one to sometimes, as a parent myself, that's sometimes a difficult one to try and do. But I think certainly if the child is then reluctant to speak to you because of what you may do or say, I think that actually causes a bigger issue. So I think certainly is to trust your children, listen to the child, talk together to try and reach some sort of agreement on how they will address the issue, and really reassure the child that you've got their corner. You're there to support them. You're there to help them through this. That they are not alone, and that you as a family and as a parent will guide the child through this.
So Andre, tell us a little bit about one of the methods for dealing with bullying, cyberbullying, from your website, the BIRD method.
Absolutely. So there are a number of, techniques and things that individuals and online users can use if they are experiencing bullying. One of the ones that you mentioned is the BIRD method, BIRD, which stands for block, ignore, report, and delete. And that's certainly some of the steps that we recommend still, and many others do, if you are experiencing bullying online. Certainly the one I think I would add to that, which would probably be an S, so to call it BIRDS, would be a screenshot. I think certainly one of the things that we do need to ensure is that we are evidencing the online abuse. So make sure the first thing to do, so I'll probably put it at the beginning, is to take a screenshot of the messages or the comments that are being made. Certainly report it to the social media group. Certainly also, whilst it's difficult to ignore, to try and, to ensure that you take the steps appropriately to try and resolve that matter, which is to also delete the comment afterwards if you can, and also then to ensure that you block the person that made those comments. So that's something that can work. However, I think the challenges with social media today is that any individual could then go and create another account to then continue the bullying. And this is certainly something we've seen ourselves in the past, where people can create huge amounts of channels to go and chase after people again. So the steps that we would say is to do all those steps, take a screenshot. If it is serious bullying, we would certainly recommend that you go onto the E-Safety Commissioner website, where you can report the bullying, and they can now obviously take on a case for you to try and remove the content, but also potentially contact the police as well.
And joining us now is the founder of Transition Sports, Darren Hindle. Welcome, Darren.
Hello, Mark. How are you going?
Fantastic, mate. Great to have you here along with Andre as well. And Darren, let's start with you first. What were the synergies that you saw between what Transition Sports is all about and the Bully Zero message?
Well, basically it come down, I was at a youth game watching my daughter down at Hume, And then there was this Bully Zero there doing some sort of cause, and I wasn't really picking up on it. Then after the game, I thought I might ask a question about who this organisation is. And once I asked one of the representatives there, and they explained what they stood for and what they were about, straight away I found out who was involved, and it was Shane Gillard. He's from Hume. He's one of the board members. So I reached out to him and said, so what, can you give me a bit more of a brief on who Bully Zero are, what they stand for, what their values? And once he gave me that response, I was all in. And then he put me onto Andre, and over the last 12 months, I've probably been annoying him and harassing him to let's catch up and let's just put some ideas out there. And it started from a conversation, and it looks like we're now probably coming into an outcome, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. And Andre, it must be great for the Bully Zero organisation that there are organisations like Transition Sports that are really buying into your message.
Look, absolutely. I think we're certainly one of organisation that believes we can't do this ourselves. It's a big issue, so we need organisations like Darren and with the enthusiasm, but also the grassroots involvement within the community, within sports, that really have the credibility already within that space for us to be able to come in and partner with to be able to deliver some outcomes within the game as well. For us to go in direct to the clubs, to the sports environment, we're not really going to have that same credibility, that same recognition that organisations like Transition Sports have. So it's a critical thing for us to be able to partner with Transition Sports and like other organisations, more so with the enthusiasm and that Darren brings to the process, which makes it a lot easier as well to make progress as well.
So as part of Transition Sports, you offer services to sporting clubs as well to come in and help with culture building and awareness of issues in their club that could also link in with Bully Zero. And we know that Bully Zero is, the key to them is evidence-based programs. So tell us how you go about identifying with sporting clubs, firstly identifying the issues and then taking some steps to address those issues, in particular bullying, things like that.
Yeah, so basically, some clubs come to us and just ask for some help. So normally it starts with a coaching workshop. So we grab their coaches, we go upstairs in the training room, have a bit of a chat, and it's about them, where they're heading and what they're feeling, what they're going through. But we also, sometimes prior to that workshop, we survey the members, and the main members are the players. So what the players going through, what they're experiencing, what they're struggling with. So we do some strategic research there. We collect the information, we put it all together, and then in the middle of the workshop, when it's the right time to highlight the research or the results, we will bring it up and we start going through that, what sort of style of coaching could have an impact on a certain age group and or how you come across the message. So, and then we start to highlight that, the environment, the negative environment could be a form of, at the end, a bullying concept, where it's negative coaching or the kids are feeling isolated or they're not getting the same development as other players, or so we get a feel of that, and then we start to navigate through the workshops. Then we go back to the committee or the club representatives, and then we start to give them some ideas or ways to maybe come about creating the awareness and maybe a help support platform and making the coaches better, more aware of it, and also engaging players and parents. So we try and cover it all, but yeah, that's how we probably go about it first with the research.
And as I mentioned, Andre, this Bully Zero organisation, one of the key platforms is that evidence-based education, so that must fit in beautifully with what you guys...
Absolutely. I think it's really important that whatever programs we deliver is built on a really strong basis of evidence, because we need to ensure that whatever we are going out with to the community is going to work, that is going to have an impact, and is also evidence to actually deliver all of those different things. So the approach that Darren and Transition Sports bring to their model was a perfect fit with ours. So we certainly are very much looking to developing a program which is built on all of the evidence, but then it allows us to then see and talk to our community that actually we've got evidence that we've been able to deliver all the outcomes that we wanted to deliver, and actually we've been able to reduce bullying in the space that we've gone into. So being able to do that and through the work of Darren is really important.
I suppose when you look at that, the information that you're gathering, Darren, is really from the horse's mouth. It's from from the work floor, if you like, or from the court, and really addresses what the individual is feeling.
Well, it's real. So, like, if we say to community members, look, it's okay what direction you're taking with your club. And they have ideas, which is great, and they say, no, we're going to go this way. I said, but we haven't actually found out what is going on within the club. And that comes from the players. Parents have a parents' view, committee has a committee view, but the players have the real view. They're involved in the middle, they're in the heat of the moment. They know what's happening from the outside influences, on the court, off the court. So they're the ones where we get the real information from. And we'll know if it's an impact, if it's coming from the parents, the grandstand, the coaches, just committee members who are trying to maybe promote themselves in the wrong way, some in a positive way, but it's real. So and we do it with schools as well. So we do a school at Westbourne, so we've done all the sports, we've done research there. So it's not just basketball. So the ideal is this can be all sports, but we're focusing on basketball because that's probably our niche right now. And we're going to try and implement these pilot programs and roll it out slowly, and again, based on real information, not he say, she say, it's real information.
Which is absolutely fantastic. It really is great news. And Andre, I suppose the key takeaways from today are about parents having an eye out for their kids and making sure that they're all okay in the bullying space and not having any issues. But if they are, the important message is for the kids to call it out and to talk to their parents about it, and to be open and honest and get it out there.
Yes.
And deal with it.
Well, absolutely, but I will just add as well that it's not always easy to see the signs. So what I would say is to really engage in open conversations with your children about their online use, in terms of take a real active interest in what they're doing online, what conversations they're engaging with. If they are experiencing bullying and those proactive conversations are being had, it's most likely that something will come out of that, and parents will be able to find out what's going on. So the key thing is, don't just rely on signs and hints to be able to spot that. Really have those proactive conversations with your children.
And if anyone would like any more information on the Bully Zero program, you can head to their website, bullyzero.org.au, or for Transition Sports you can go to their websites at transitionsports.com.au. You can also give them a call. Daz would be more than happy to take your call on 0417 567 225. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Andre, continued good luck and success with Bully Zero. You're doing a fantastic job, and thank you for giving up your time today.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me here. It's really important.
Pleasure. And as always, great to catch up with you, and we'll catch up with you again in the next episode of the show.
Yeah, thanks guys. Awesome job. Thanks guys. Good job.
Well, that's it for this episode. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and we're powered, of course, by the Hopper Motor Group. See you next time.